Both team and now these haters salty.
All right. Welcome to IE Sports Radio. I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, who will not be joining us tonight. Maddie B and your girl Bex. We are the East Coast Red and Gold. What's going on, guys?
Hello, friends.
Hello. Well, still in
My
recovery
jet lagged
mode.
friends. My jet
Yeah,
lagged
big
friends.
time.
Y'all are
Yeah.
like the jet lag sisters.
Yep. We're the jet lag crew, that's for sure. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us. Yes. Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us, the East Coast Red and Gold, on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And of course, for IE Sports Radio, make sure to follow IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and keep up with the latest in sports and with the shows. Also, check out the website, iesportsradio.com. IE Sports Radio, of course, brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. It's the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, no MSG, so no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, high in protein, which is the exact ratio that you are looking for, and some of the best jerky that you can get your paws on or hands or however you identify your finger parts. PlanetJerky.net for more information. Brisket beef jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
All right.
What you
Thank you very
said.
much. Yes, exactly. Shout out to Rob D, Bang Bang East Coast Niner Gang. That's right. What's up, Bryant?
What's up, kids?
What's going on, Bebop?
Hey.
All right. So before we get into our route of the G-Men,
which seems
let's
like it
talk
was
a little
forever
bit-
ago, by the way. Seems like,
yes,
doesn't it seem like it
definitely-
was 6 weeks ago? Like, it seems like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, and they just went back to practice today, and I'm like, oh my God,
Right.
it took long enough.
Right.
It's crazy. Just talk a little bit, Becca. I know that you sat in the gold mine before and stuff like that, but just talk a little bit about your experience. After after the game, like going on the field, like stuff like that.
Well, that was new and different. In the past, in the gold mine, we did not get to go on the field. So that was a beautiful extra surprise that really, really made my day, because the GOAT, Steve Young, signed my hat and I took a picture and I was done. I was completely done at that point. But, the gold mine to me is really kind of a special thing, because it's a collective group of people that you're there with. It's in our case, we invited the people to come sit with us. In other cases, I was invited. So it's pretty special to get an invitation or to even get the opportunity to have the gold mine, in the first place, and to be there and have that be this special honor that we had is, to me, it's just beautiful, because it was full of people that you love and you enjoy being around, and people that we know and trust, like our group that we have good friends and good people, and we really love this team and have just such a good time together. It was, to me, that was part of the essence of what made it special. But also, you have the organization itself there with you, hyping you up, hyping the crowd up, and affording you this opportunity. And then at the end, getting to go down on the field as an extra fun surprise was really, the cherry on top. It was more than I expected, and just really, left me speechless. I was like, Steve Young, he's right there. I was skipping around the field like, Steve Young. And, I was. But it was, it was pretty magical, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it was my first time sitting in the gold mine. It was pretty cool. Definitely an experience I'll remember. Just sitting with everybody, and Maddie, we definitely miss you.
Yeah.
I missed
just
being there. So yeah.
Yeah, like it was a whole other experience, just kind of getting in before everybody, and just kind of, going to get your beverage or your food, and just, going back to your seat. And it's just like, you look around and it's like, all right, there's a few players practicing, whatever, warming up. and nobody else is there. And it was just, it was really cool. And then for me, I got asked if I wanted to do the trivia on the field, which was the longest 30 seconds of my life. Those 3 questions. I went 2 for 3, and I was telling Maddie backstage that, the second question I knew, I was staring right at the answer, which was Ray Ray McLeod, and I just went with Ty Davis Price instead. And I'm like, what is happening?
Why did I say that? At least you're not Alex from Seattle. He went 0 for 3 when he did it.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't feel so bad now.
You can't even feel bad at all.
You can't even show your face in public again with that sort of performance. That's horrific.
And it was funny because my last name is too hard to pronounce for some, so they just referred to me as Jess from New Jersey. I was like, you know what, that works. That's fine. That works for me.
I noticed that. So I was like, they looked at your name and were like, yeah, no.
And I even said like what it was for short, and she's like, yeah, I think I'm still gonna go Jess from New Jersey. I said that works. That's fine with me. And she was like, no one will find you on Facebook. I'm like, well, I'm not on Facebook, but nobody will find me, so that's even better if I strike out here. But it was really cool. And then going on the field after, I got a couple pictures of Steve Young and just stuff like that. I took a few blades of grass home with me. So, like you have your candlestick dirt, I have my blades of grass from the stadium.
I also have a few blades of grass, and I'm going to put them in a small bag and put them inside with the candlestick dirt.
There you go.
The mixture of magic.
Yes. And as Ty says, there's video evidence of the trivia. Yes, there is. But yeah, so it was a fun time all around. Just getting to meet some more content creators and and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. So Maddie, what did you see from the game? Obviously you weren't there. Again, we missed you. It was not quite the same. You watching the game, what are the things that popped out at you?
Short week, and they still did the things that you'd want to see them do, right? Like they still ran the ball. McCaffrey didn't run every play. Like Elijah Mitchell got some run in there, right? No Brandon Ayuk, which I honestly think is a good thing. Like he got a full week off to kind of get healed up so that he can be 100%. The thing I didn't like was watching Debo get injured. Pretty much called the rib injury, and apparently his knee get injured too, which I thought was going to be a high ankle sprain. So I'm actually surprised it wasn't anything more. In fact, I would be shocked if you saw Debo this week. Quite honestly, I think he's going to get the week off. But you have Ronnie Bell now, who you can deploy for either one, right? Like Brandon Ayuk's out, no problem. Go get Ronnie Bell. Debo's out. Oh well, go get Ronnie Bell. You're not going to miss anything on Yak apparently, and the ball just finds him. So, it's one of those games that like I really wish that they had won like Miami style, like 70-20 or something like that, just to like remind everybody like who we are and all this stuff. But at the you're always with us in spirit, Ty. Even when one of us isn't there, we're all there, if that makes sense to everybody at home.
That's true.
Yeah. It's like when Darth Vader died, then he came back as the younger version of himself, like after years of being the older version. Very bizarre. It's really strange. This little force ghost over in the corner. Everybody's okay. But the defense looked good. Nick Bosa getting a sack was good. That was really good. The crowd came off really well on television. A lot of times the home crowd seems very like wine and cheesy, especially on the Sunday afternoons. I thought on primetime it really showed as like, hey, welcome to our house and F you. So I'm pretty sure you guys had something to do with that.
That was all us. So
yeah, that was us.
I'm gonna give you guys all the credit on that.
As we deserve. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw those flowers your way and you can take them. So and then just everything else, like it was just good. Like they didn't play their best game, but they still hit 30 points on a short week with a less than full roster. Like, it almost shows you, like, last week's game was like the first one where you're kind of like, whoa, look how good this team is. Because I feel like if this game had happened last year at the same time, we would have lost, or Robbie Gould would have had to kick a late field goal to put us ahead.
Yeah, I do feel like we were able to complete the journey. We didn't get in the red zone and then peter out and rely on field goals. We were able to finish the job in most cases. But I mean, I read that it was the most blitzed game in the NFL in 5 years, that, you know, they blitzed us 85% of the time. So they came out firing everything they had at Purdy. And I think it really affected him a little bit in the early part of the game, you know, and I don't know, Debo too seemed to have butterfingers early on. He missed some catches, and Purdy was rushing and overthrowing and things like that. But, you know, I think once he settled down a little bit, they brought the blitz, and he was able to find, you know, any one of the weapons that we have. And it was good to see the mix of people getting in on the action. You know, we tried to say before the game, you know, we need to see Jawan Jennings. We need to see, you know, more Debo. We need to see, you know, the other running backs, TDP, Mason, Ronnie Bell, those guys get in on the action. And in this game, I think we saw all of those things happen. And it just proved that, you know, we have a lot of depth, and they can blitz us all day long, but we're still going to find a way.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that Brock Purdy started off kind of slow.
Yeah.
You know, and then as the game went on, he was okay, but he definitely was blitzed a lot. Now, my question, if people had said, you know, Kyle Shanahan was scheming around him, which any, which here we go.
Here we are.
Which any good coach would, like with their team. But if that was the case, don't you think the defensive would have caught up to him by now? Like, does this make him legit?
Well, he's 8-0 as a starter, and I think in the first 3 games he's broken a record or tied with like Lamar Jackson and Mahomes in their MVP rookie years. So, you know, he's performing at a high level. Not to say that, you know, obviously I think he's legit. He's still defying all of the odds in the league. And anyone that doesn't think he's able to get out there and perform, well, you know, I don't know how many more games they want, or how many more you know, maybe another season, maybe they want to see more. But at this point, he's doing his job, and I think he's doing it well. What was he? Over 300 yards passing, no interceptions, a couple touchdowns. What was it? I think I wrote down. Yeah, I don't know.
He had 2 touchdowns, if I remember
correctly. 2 touchdowns. That's what I thought.
I want to say 311. I don't have the stats right off the top of my head, but I think it was 311 passing and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I just wrote plus 300 for passing yards. So, you know, say what you want, he's getting the job done for us. We're scoring 30 points a game, and exactly 30. Like, that's the magic number this year, right?
We weren't doing that last year or the year before.
Right.
Or the year before. That was the whole reason they traded 3 first-round picks to go get a quarterback that they thought maybe had a higher ceiling, because they thought that this offense wasn't reaching the ceiling that it was supposed to be reaching. So
get in the end zone when you get.
They knew the answer, right? Like, they knew the answer. They didn't solve it the way we expected, right? They expected it to be the other way around. They'll go get the big first-round quarterback and do this. Instead, they found a guy in the very last round with the very last pick who advanced this offense enough to get it to where they need to be. Like in the Jimmies, you're in the teens and 20s. Occasionally you get up into the 30s, maybe a 40, but that's usually if the special teams or the defense scored a touchdown, right? Maybe 2. Or the running game just absolutely went off. You know, now it's almost like treading water at 30 points, right? Like,
it really felt that way.
If they don't make 30 points, it's like, what, is everybody okay? Like, is there a flu going through the team? Like, what's going on?
Or how many yards and penalties did we rack up and take points away from ourselves or give them to the other team?
How
right?
many stupid red zone turnovers did we have, right? And those things just became contagious. You know what I mean? Okay, sorry. I Price is right at that one. It's 310 yards, not 311. My bad. Thank you, Ty. So, but I mean, that's what you're supposed to do in this offense. If you throw for 95 yards and they get 215 on Yak, like, you have done your job as the quarterback, right? Like, that's just it. So, yeah,
Speaking of the Yak, like, our Yak was more than the whole Giants total offense. Like, I mean,
that's why I don't buy this garbage about, like, whether it should be him getting credit or Shanahan getting credit. Like, if he wasn't doing this offense the way he was supposed to, we'd be like, what the hell's this guy's problem? Why can't he do this offense? Kyle's handing it to him. Or we'd say that Kyle can't develop quarterbacks. Instead, we're like, oh, well, Kyle's doing all the work for him. Well, what the hell is it? Like, what's the answer to the test here? Like, what do we got going on? Like, what do you want out of this guy to prove to you? Like, is Brock Purdy's potential failure in the room with you now, right? Like, is that's what I want to say to some of these folks. Like, I don't get it. I don't. It's a possibility that the shoe could fall on the other foot. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are still affected by the fact that with Kaepernick and with Jimmy, both of them started off like they were going to be generational. They had the potential to be generational quarterbacks with the way they started, right? And then Jimmy decided to try to do a Barry Sanders 360 on the sideline in Kansas City, and it was never the same after that. You know what I mean? Like, there were ups and downs and everything, but he never got to the point that he played in 2017 when he was doing a lot of the things that Brock is now to get them to where they wanted to be, right? Like, there was definitely, to me, there was some sort of regression between 2018 and 2019. Whether that was confidence, whether that was whatever. And it was the same thing with Kaepernick as well. Like, he got hurt, and then it was like, there's all sorts of organizational upheavalness, and then that's it. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, okay, so there's 3-ish good years. That's awesome. Almost 4. Okay, well, you know. So I think everybody's kind of in that prove it stage, right? And then, of course, there was the Trey Lance thing. So I think that's what it is. I don't think it's Brock Purdy's fault, per se. I think it's, if you look at the last 4 quarterbacks, probably every quarterback since Jeff Garcia, because nobody expected Jeff Garcia to do everything, and he exceeded expectations, right? Every quarterback since then has not lived up to the expectations that they set for themselves based on the performance that we saw on the field, based on the way everything went. So nobody's expecting this to peak out at the Montana Young phase, right? You're not expecting it's going to be Montana Young Purdy. People can't believe that yet because I haven't seen the Super Bowl. Is really what it boils down to. Yeah. That has to be what it is, because there's no other reason for it.
So I had asked before your Wi-Fi went out, I had asked if Shanahan was scheming around Brock Purdy, don't you think the defenses would have caught up by now? And is he legit?
Yeah. That was kind of my long way around to saying that. But yeah, there's not a... I mean, like, everybody schemes for their quarterbacks in a way, right? Like, everybody... Yeah, every single team schemes for the quarterback, and the defense looks for ways to do things. And look, Dallas showed how to slow him down last year in the playoffs. They brought a lot of pressure, right? So what did we see from the Giants on Thursday night? Because they knew they had no other chance. We got to bring a lot of pressure. So that's what they did. Here comes the pressure. And how did he do? Well, he did better in that game than he did against the Cowboys in the playoff game. P.S. They won both games, so who gives a flying rat's ass? But it shows you how much he can improve once he sees something like that, right? Like, I'm really going to be interested to see how he does against the Philadelphia defense in December. Once he sees them again, you know what I mean? I'm looking forward to. He's going to see Seattle for a 4th time. Soon, you know that. Yeah, me take the long way. No, let me get that for you real quick. break this down. Yeah.
Not Matt. Come on.
Never. But yeah, no,
A
it's
long
not.
drive?
To me, that's not Kyle scheming. This is Brock Purdy's running the offense the way that Kyle wants the offense run.
And what was
And
really cool. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
I was just gonna say. I just had one more point. Like he's running it in such a way that it instills confidence in Kyle to unlock the other keys to the other levels.
And, Kyle sort of alluded to that in the presser when he said, when they were bringing pressure and he would miss or he, was off on his throws or his timing, when he would come back, we would have a conversation about what did you see and why did you react the way you did, and talk through what he saw and why he did what he did and what he thought was coming at him. And so Kyle, I think, is loving the fact that he can have this entire dialogue around exactly that, the scheme that you're seeing, the covers that the looks that they're giving you when it's happening. And then he goes right back out and improves immediately, because when he sees it again, he knows what it means this time. And it's almost like Kyle is suppressing the giddiness at the podium because he's loving what he's getting out of Purdy right now. At least that's my read on the way he talks about him. It's always, yeah, he made a mistake, but we had a conversation, he figured it out, and he went right back out and did something different. So, I think that's all you could ask for. And Kyle's finally, I think, found his guy who gets him, and can do what he's asking.
Yeah, I think he also said that Brock Purdy had a better game than he initially had thought.
Yeah, he did say something to that effect too.
Yeah.
It's been a few days since I watched it.
Yeah.
So long ago.
Yeah. Feels like ages ago. CMC. 12 consecutive touchdowns, including regular season and postseason. He matches Jerry Rice, 1987, for the longest streak in 49ers history.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I love it. I mean, I think it's been just a really, really, we've talked about it before, that kind of a missing cog in the wheel that we've needed.
Why isn't he getting the MVP run?
Oh, yeah. 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 And CMC also broke 5,000 career rushing yards too in that game. So he's like the fifth person, I don't know, fifth ever to have the 12 touchdowns or something. I'm not really sure what it was. I saw the stats, but again, it's been
and after week 3, after week 3, he has 353 yards.
Yeah. He's leading the league there, but it was something else. Oh, he's the fifth one in history to reach the 12 consecutive games. It's the first time since 1990, and he tied Jerry Rice. So he's only the fifth guy to have 12 consecutive touchdown games like that. So, yeah.
He has not been a Niner for a full year. I think that's coming up in October.
Yeah, I think so too. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, CMC, I mean, what more?
Maddie, are you frozen or are you with us?
He's as cold as ice.
Oh, okay. Because you weren't moving, so I was
doing a. No, I was kind of, because I didn't want to. If I was frozen, I didn't want to draw attention to the fact that I was frozen. So I was like running a couple of programs to ensure that I wasn't frozen, and now I'm not. So we're good. We're okay.
All right.
We're fine.
Awesome.
We're alive. We made
Feed
it.
the hamsters.
We survived. I really want to know why CMC's not getting more MVP run, to be quite honest with you. Like, I don't get it. I keep hearing I saw a thing this week for Brock Purdy being the MVP, which, that's all great and swell and super. But like, to me, this offense
I would like to see somebody other than a quarterback.
That's my thought, right? Like, it can't always be the quarterback. And to me, the numbers kind of don't lie. Like, all the point, everything became more effective right? Like when CMC came in, Jimmy became a better quarterback, right? And then he got hurt, and Brock Purdy was able to slide in. That was the argument you heard. Well, Trey Lance didn't have CMC. Okay, well, but Christian McCaffrey makes everything run, man. Like he's like WD-40. You need him in the slot, he'll be in the slot. You need him to run a toss, he'll run a toss. You need him to take one up the middle, take one up the middle. Like it doesn't run a screen, sure, okay. Oh, halfback option pass, sure. Like he does all the things, and he does them in a positive manner. And like he's the missing link. He was the missing link for that team. I don't understand why he doesn't get more talk as MVP. Like it's not just the quarterback, guys. Like it can be other players. And we're sitting here talking about how running backs need to make more money. Wouldn't it be a hell of a lot easier to get a running back paid if he could come to the table and say, I was named the MVP last year? Like if you're just going to keep, and please keep that energy to anyone watching this, please, like anywhere you see it, see CMC for MVP, because it can't keep going to the quarterback every single time. It's not always the quarterback. It just isn't.
That's true. I agree. Ty. Everything runs through Brock. He scores all the points. And then you got Bryant with Moody for MVP. Hey, you never know.
The boot. Jake, the boot.
Money
Can
Moody.
we give him like Rookie of the Year or something? Like Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, right?
That. Mm-hmm.
So, question from Alberto. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If they're undefeated by week 15, would you sit the starters or make history?
I don't think you're sitting the starters if you're undefeated. You're going for it.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to sit and risk losing. They're going to be rioting on the sideline. I think they play and they go for it.
Could you imagine losing to the Rams in the final game when you have a chance to go 17-0?
Because you sat all the starters.
Can you imagine Sean McVay fist pumping on the sidelines or on the field, wherever he decides to be at that particular moment, celebrating the fact that he shut down an undefeated season in Levi's right before a bye week? Because there'll be a bye week before the next round, because I can't imagine somebody else is going to go 17-0. Trent
Williams would rightfully be allowed to punch him right in the head.
Right. And then he would probably miss the next game, right? Like this would set up to be our 1987, right? It would just be this thing, and like Brock Purdy struggles in the first half, and they're like, let's bring in Sam Darnold, he's a veteran, and then he kind of plays okay, and then we go into this whole unadulterated hell going into next season. Yeah, I don't want to go back into that vacuum. No,
we don't need those.
I don't want this. Let's just stop it.
We don't need those.
No.
Yeah,
they're undefeated. They go for
sitting
it.
of the starters.
No, none of that.
That can't happen.
No.
And Bebop, yeah, there is a Kaepernick ice cream, and it's pretty good too. It's I think it's one of the non-dairy ones, but it's pretty decent.
Huh.
He's talking about Ben and Jerry's ice cream. It was for charity too. It went money went to his charity.
Cool. Did the 49ers miss Brandon Ayuk on Thursday?
Initially, yeah, I think Brock Purdy was missing his guy, his target, and getting rushed like that when he was looking to dump it somewhere, his boy wasn't there for him. And I think some of that was part of the timing and trying to get to someone else with the ball. I definitely think he missed Brandon Ayuk for initial early part of the game. But then, he settled down. He found his other weapons suitable.
Becca, this question's for you.
Was that a jar of CBD? No, that's the candlestick dirt, hun. CBD gummies. Nope, candlestick dirt. We have a tradition here. I went to the when they were tearing down Levi's and had the security guard give me a jar of dirt, a big cup of the dirt, and I put it in the jar. And so now we shake the candlestick dirt for good vibes and good juju for the team. So we don't ward away all the bad.
Exactly.
Not CBD gummies. Nope.
Yeah, I thought they missed BA a little bit. Definitely, especially in the beginning. Randy said, yeah, we could have scored way more. Yeah, I agree with that. Instead of just, stopping at 30. But yeah, I think they missed him a little bit. Maddie, what do you think?
Yeah, just from a 37 to 30 standpoint, right? They probably missed another touchdown or another third down because of that. Like, him on the slant is pretty automatic right now. Like, Ayuk on the slant right now is almost as automatic as Jalen Hurts with the tush push. You know what I mean? Like, straight up. If it's 4th and 3, I expect them to go for it almost on a Chargerian level. Because I don't think anybody's really going to stop Ayuk. The only way you can stop him is if you hold him. So unless you're counting on the officials to not call that hold, you're not going to stop that play. I mean, you can kind of see it with McCaffrey too, but with BA specifically, you're not stopping it. So yeah, he was definitely missed. It kept it from being a little bit more of a score fest than it was. If you bet on the over, you miss Brandon Ayuk. Let's put it that way.
Patty's always got to put the betting in there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a big market nowadays. We want to try to get, eventually, we're going to want people that want to sponsor us. So I want to make sure I put that in there so that people understand that we know and understand. So those were the people that miss Brandon Ayuk most. I would say Brock Purdy and people who bet the over.
Agreed. But to your point, Niner sickness, yes. We obviously have enough talent on the team that we could score points without Brandon Ayuk getting other people involved. But I do think Brock Purdy missed Brandon Ayuk.
BA and no limited CMC, we could have gone for over 40. Yeah. 42-10 this week. Yeah, we'll get to that, but yeah, I could see that. Oh, here's Bryant with his jokes. Let's talk a little Debo. How do you think he did, Maddie?
I thought he did tremendous. It was one of those get on my back sort of games, and I thought he put him on his back. Then he hurt his rib, and his knee, which is going to happen with Debo. Like, if you overuse him, he's going to get hurt. So you got to minimize the snaps that you use with him.
Was he being overused though?
For him, yes, because he's so aggressively physical. Him and Kittle are the same way. Like, they will dole out so much punishment that they actually hurt themselves almost as bad as they hurt their opponent, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think that's being overused though. I think that's just play.
But on a Thursday night, but I'm talking on a Thursday night, you're coming off a short week, right? It's not like Debo played Sunday and they played on that turf. I would have liked to see more of a Ronnie Bell, more Jawan Jennings. Like, I don't need to see on a short week like that. I don't need to see him on the field all the time. Like, I don't necessarily want to say it was overuse, but like, with the way he plays, he's not fully healed from Sunday yet. Does that mean, like, his body's not in that point? Now he's going to have 10 days off and he'll probably play this week and be fine. But, he didn't practice today. I'm guessing if he does practice this week, he's going to be limited probably on Friday. So to me, like, with him and McCaffrey, they mirror each other so much that it's like, we do need to monitor Debo's reps because you need him on the field. Because if you don't have the threat of Debo on the field, that makes this offense less effective, right? Just like if you don't have Brandon Ayuk on the field, you don't have the threat of him, that makes it less effective. Like sometimes with these guys, it's not just the fact of what they do, it's what they could do. So you have to watch all of them. You have to watch the fullback. You have to watch the tight end. You can't just discount any one of these players, because at any point in time, one of them could be running completely uncovered down the sidelines, and you're just like, oh no, I got Shanahan again, right? Because you see it happen all the time, because they're setting you up for it all the time. And that's why all those guys are like that. So that's what part of the reason I was so surprised to see this interest in trading for Devontae Adams or having the 49ers be on that list. But it's kind of nice to see that the 49ers have graduated to the list of good teams that people would want to play on if they're looking for a ring. I don't necessarily see it happening, but unless we're going to having 2 footballs in a game. But so to answer your question, yeah, like I don't necessarily think he was overused, but I think he was overutilized for a game with that quick of a turnaround time, especially on a Thursday night. I would have liked to seen a lot more of Elijah Mitchell the other night, maybe even a little Jordan Mason or TDP or somebody like that. Like just this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think the short week really is what I think hurt Debo the most, but I don't think Debo's been overused this season at all. I mean, I think that was a very typical Debo game 2 years ago, right? Like, or 3, whatever it was. But, you know, it was all the Debo show, and he was pretty durable and resilient, you know, for some seasons, but he's been plagued with some injuries. But I do agree that I would have liked to have seen a little more Juwan Jennings and some of the other guys get in there. Elijah Mitchell, we talked about him, you know, getting the ball more before the game. So the fact that, you know, I know we tried using Mitchell some, but I don't know, you tend to lean on your bigger weapons, and those guys got to be able to get out there and play and perform. So the Debos of the world need to be able to turn around on short rest and be able to do this stuff. So, you know, I don't know. I don't think Debo was overused. I do think the short rest really is what you know hurt Debo the most.
Have a good night, Dawn. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he was overused. I think it was just the short rest. But I think he did do really well. I would actually kind of be surprised if he did play against Arizona.
Yeah.
Maybe if he did play, it would definitely be a limited role, just like being limited in practice. But we'll see. And from another wide receiver to another, what about Ronnie Bell? I thought he did really well. Scored his first touchdown. And he, you know, he's another physical receiver, not as much as Debo. And as far as physicality goes, not as much as George Kittle. But he's another physical receiver, and, you know, definitely got in there for that grab. Saw that before the trivia. But yeah, thoughts on Ronnie Bell, guys?
I mean, I agree. I thought, you know, it's good to get him in there and get him moving around on the field and in the action. I was so happy with his touchdown. His post game with his football was super cute. You know, I was happy about that. But I do think we have to start plugging some of those guys in the rotation to get rest for the Debos and Brandon Ayuk's of the world, and that helps, you know, preserve them a little bit too. So, you know, but I'm happy that he's in there, and if he can step in and really, you know, plug up the hole if somebody's out hurt, then great, good for us. You know, it's exactly what we want.
I petition that we just get rid of all first and second round draft picks as a whole and just like parlay those for more thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, because then if we miss on those, then like we'll hit on probably an equal amount. So if you hit on like 50% of those, like you're still doing okay and you're saving a bunch of money. So just a good find. Like they liked him, and they've liked him for a long time. I guess they were scouting him last year. They usually have a plan. They have a certain specification for guys that they want and that they want in this program. And Ronnie Bell was one of those guys, and for good reason. You know what I mean? Like he's just one of those guys who's gonna be near the ball. He's kind of like Kufunga a little bit in that aspect of it. You know what I mean? So I find it really interesting. I think this is going to be a good one, another good one. And if it gets to a point where maybe BA is too expensive, like we still, they're rolling over $41 million of cap space next year, but you still got to pay BA or franchise tag him. And I don't think he's going to want a franchise tag. Like, to have somebody like that who could maybe fill in case you've either got to, you lose BA or you have to trade Debo because you decide to keep BA. Hypothetically, of course, let's keep everybody together for as long as we possibly can.
You're going to have hate mail.
Yeah, but still, eventually, you're going to need a next man up, and you hope that next man up can be can show up like Ronnie Bell did the other night, and Ronnie Bell showed up the other night.
And I agree with what Randy's saying too about not wanting to sit anyone, just use the right tool at the right time. But, you also don't want to injure them even more. And, I mean, if he wasn't injured, obviously we wouldn't be having this conversation, but he is injured and you don't want him to get hurt even more. What's up, Jason? Switching gears to the other side of the ball, defense. I thought the defense did really well. Defensive line, Javon Kinlaw, Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa got his first sack, Eric Armstead.
29 yards of rushing for the Giants. That is it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they did really, really well.
Whole line. Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah. Exactly. They did their job better than expected. They 29 yards of rushing. I mean, what more could you say? They got a couple sacks on Daniel Jones, a lot of pressure on him. It's all phases, were working really well.
I think what I was surprised about was that Daniel Jones really didn't use the read option. Like he wasn't running around, and I actually expected that. Because he is a mobile quarterback, not as much as, let's say, like a Lamar Jackson. But I was kind of surprised that he didn't run around.
They gave up on the run.
They really did. I mean, I just think at some point the pressure, we were pressuring him pretty well. And, he just, everybody was getting close to getting hands on him at any given moment. And, he was just trying not to take the sack, I think is what you saw a lot of, trying to get rid of it.
Looked like they went into the kind of the offensive game plan they had against Dallas when they got behind. They just we'll just throw it every time. And you can't
dunk it off.
It wasn't that desperate. And when they were running, like when Breida got his touchdown, like that was a really good touchdown run. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like we weren't out there looking like the 85 Bears on that particular red zone drive. So, or the 84 Niners or whatever other great defense you want to throw out there. Like it wasn't, Breida dice. And then right after that, they just kind of stopped going to him. Like they stopped running the ball at all. Like there were some slow developing screen passes that you could see from a mile away that they were utilizing, but they weren't like, it was almost like they just went run game. They went full pass game. And when you take that run pass option away from Daniel Jones, you limit his effectiveness as a quarterback. Very much so. Like he's very athletic. Like he can run, he can do the things. And if you give someone that extra half second where they have to decide if he's going to hand it off or not, he can usually find someone open. Even though the Giants have all the same receivers doing all the same things. They're like the same height, the same size, the same weight, the same 40 time, and the same hands. They just randomly rank them 1 to 5. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And then they've got a tight end that they try to pass off as their wide receiver 1 when he's basically playing on a hamstring that could fall apart any second. I'm assuming it's made of Swiss cheese. I'm not positive, but like that's what I've heard. So it's kind of like it's a weirdly built offense, but it's built around his stuff, and they just gave him $45 million. So it's kind of like if you're expecting him to be the offense, he needs to be the offense that night, particularly if you've got no Saquon Barkley. And if you've just given up on the run because Saquon Barkley's not there, like, why don't you just say that and go ahead and start your backup quarterback so you don't get Daniel Jones killed? Because that's all you really did in that aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't. That was a team that looked like they figured it out in the second half against Arizona last week, and then it looked like they just lost their mind after they fell behind a little bit against the 49ers. Like, they totally forgot how they did it.
You think the game would have been different if Saquon Barkley was playing?
If he was healthy, yes. If he hadn't gotten the injury, like if he was injured, no, it would have been the exact same thing because he would have been a decoy out there or barely used, or he would have gotten hurt again, like immediately and had to leave the game. So I don't. If he hadn't got the injury against Arizona and he was fully healthy, yes, it would have been a completely different game because Daniel Jones would not have been on an island by himself at that point.
Yeah, I do agree that Saquon is big enough X factor that it would have been a different, at least statistic on the run game for sure.
Okay. How about the secondary? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say he helps their pass game too, because if the other folks aren't there, he's very much like McCaffrey. Like he'll get that third down.
Yeah.
Like you can throw it 3 yards short of the sticks and get it to Saquon, and odds are he's going to be able to carry a couple of tacklers to at least get you close enough to make that decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which sometimes is exactly what the Giants need, because then they get that 4th down and move it forward. Then they're like, "Well, let's get going." They seem to me like that. They just seem to me like to be like one of those teams that needs a kick in the pants to like really like get rolling. And then, like, once they're rolling, they're like, "Oh, wow, I can't believe we didn't do this sooner." And then, like, they get totally off sidetrack the next week. Like, they're just another ultimate, like, kind of ADHD team. You know what I mean? Like, squirrel, off to the side, and then they got to get themselves re-examined again. When Saquon Barkley comes back, they'll probably get their crap together. There'll probably be a week where they're not together, but, like, they're still probably going to sneak into that 7th seed for the playoffs. Like, if you look at their schedule, it's not that hard. So they're probably going to fall into the playoffs again into that 7th seed, which would be great because I would love to see them go back to Levi's because they still don't match, right? Even with Barkley. Like just because I think it would have been a different game with him being healthy and playing doesn't mean that I don't think the 49ers should win by 10 points or more, but I don't think it would have been 18.
See, I don't think the Giants make the playoffs this year. I think they miss it.
You might be right. We'll see.
We definitely will. How about the secondary?
They need a guy. They need
They need a
They don't so much need a Winston.
So, was anyone's stomach growling?
No. I had a grilled cheeseburger where the buns were grilled cheeses. So I'm not going to be hungry until like next Thursday. So, but no, for the secondary, like they need a guy. They need a shutdown guy. Like if somebody comes on the market that is a shutdown guy, whether it's a shutdown nickel corner, a shutdown, like I just feel like
what's his name? Patrick Surtain.
I was going to say there was somebody, right?
Now, if that's somebody that Denver put on the market, let me tell you, yes. Okay. Because if you put Mooney Ward on the other side of Patrick Surtain, good night. And thank you so much for playing, especially when you've got that defensive line playing the way it is with Javon Hargrave, with Eric Armstead, with Nick Bosa. Like, yeah, Javon Hargrave right now is an absolute monster. He is doing everything you wanted him to do. He is better now than DeForest Buckner was back in 2019. Okay. That is what we have been trying to get
which
to.
For interior defensive line, Javon Hargrave is 93 grade.
Yeah, that's wild. And that sack that he had where he kind of did the swim move on the inside, that is the stuff he is capable of. And when you have to pay attention to what he's doing, now you've got to, that frees it up for Nick Bosa. Now Nick Bosa is not going to get two people chipping him and two people holding him and another person chipping him at the same time. So if Denver keeps losing, they could, like if you want Patrick Surtain on the 49ers, what you really want to have happen is for the Bears to beat the Broncos this weekend. Okay. You want the wheels to fall so far off of Denver because Sean Payton's got job security at this point. So if Sean Payton's got job security and he knows that I just got to tear it up after this year, I got to rebuild it. He's going to rebuild it that way. And Patrick Surtain's going to get him quite a few picks, right? At least 2, probably a second rounder. And you could probably trade him Diamador Lenore, which would probably help them, right? Then they've got a serviceable corner there, along with 2 number 1s and a number 2. And then we have a true number 1. And then you have Mooney, who can be like that supercharged 2, almost like a 1A. And then with the safeties and then your nickel stuff, like that just frees it up, man. Like that was the one thing the 94 team had. It added Dion. And it added Dion to Tim McDonald, which freed Merton Hankups to be a free safety. And it allowed Eric Davis to kind of get better in the 2-hole, right? So, and he made some real big plays for them down the stretch that I don't think he would have made the year before if he wasn't playing on the other side of Dion. There's no Dion out there right now. So you got to try to get what you can, but you need to hope that somebody in the next few weeks, defensive back wise, comes on the market and is somebody that they can afford and isn't going to tear up all their cap stuff that they built for next year. Because I think the secondary is going to need help.
And on the opposite side of that, did you see Chad Johnson, his comments about the 49ers defense playing man-to-man coverage and talking about how he felt like it was mad disrespect to the Giants receiving corps because we played man-to-man and we're like, I dare someone to try and get open because you just couldn't. So he seemed to think that our secondary played pretty well against the Giants and thought it was a bit disrespectful how we played them like that. Like we didn't even give them a chance. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take on it. Huh. Yeah, I was just trying to find the article that I read the other day. I was like, who was it on?
Going back to the Broncos and the Bears, isn't that Monday Night Football? Oh, that's going to be so underwhelming.
Ugly. Yeah, that's going to be.
Actually, no, I don't think it's Monday Night Football because I think one of the teams plays next Thursday. I think the Bears actually play next Thursday. And they're not going to have them do the turnaround on Monday to Thursday.
Oh, if anyone's looking for jerky, I know Bebop asked about the Planet Jerky. It's planetjerky.net.
Planetjerky.net. So go
get your jerky.
Yes.
It's October 1st at 1:00. It's a Sunday game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because either the Bears or the Broncos plays Thursday. I think the Bears.
Not this Thursday. Maybe next Thursday.
Yeah, no, the Thursday after.
Oh,
right?
The Thursday after, yeah.
Yeah, so they couldn't play Monday. That's why I was thinking that.
Yeah,
so like Broncos and Bears play, and then I think the Bears play again the following Thursday night. I don't think
Jason says that they should be flexed to Wednesday at 3 a.m.
in like Egypt or something. Like like that should be like one of those Goodwill games that we send to like,
Home Shopping Network football game.
Germany, France, right. Johannesburg. I don't know. Wherever like we can't it would be too inconvenient for get us and get up and watch it, right? It would be too inconvenient. That's what time that game should be at. Also, whoever loses that game should be relegated, and we should probably bring up that was it the St. Louis team that had the really good attendance from the XFL? Let's just bring
I
them
think
up.
so.
Let's just bring them up.
Game balls.
Game balls.
God, it was so long ago.
I know. Like, I think I gave Brock Purdy a game ball for offense just because he threw for 300 yards passing in CNC for his tying the record and passing 5,000 yards. Those were, I literally wrote those down on offense. But that would be my two for offense.
Having Broncos.
I don't even think having it as a
Like,
Toy
the only
Story
way
game would
people
save
watch
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't know.
I definitely won't be tuning in. What about any defensive game balls, or no? You just have offense, Becca?
On defense, gosh, I'd probably give it to the whole defense. I mean, holding them to 29 yards rushing and just
Damn, you took mine.
yeah, like the whole team just outperformed. Every phase of it, I felt like they just were firing away on all cylinders.
Let's give the game ball to Steve Wilkes then.
Yeah, he can. And we'll give it to Steve.
I was going to say Steve Wilkes just because it was almost like he kind of. It was almost like you could see how Kyle trusted Brock with the offense. Like Steve Wilkes is starting to trust the defense a little bit to do the things that he wants more. So like instead of like a full first half of shenanigans, it seems like it's only a first quarter of shenanigans. You know what I mean? Before the adjustments are made, and they're like, okay, this is how you want to play it. Okay, we're gonna go with ZX2, and you're done now, and that's it. They're finished. Like that's it. They're just like, okay, we're gonna turn it on now. We're gonna play defense now. We're gonna play real defense. Goodbye.
Well, you flashed Randy's comment, but I mean, we just talked about how Martindale blitzed 85% of the game. I mean, the O-line got put to work in that entire game. So I wouldn't say the
Colton
O-line
McKivitz had a clean sheet.
What's that?
Colton McKivitz had a clean sheet.
Yeah, he did.
Him and Trent.
I wouldn't say the O-line was terrible at all. I think, the O-line really got pressed hard all game long. So, they had their work cut out for them the whole entire day.
The problem is it's not O-lines are bad, but I think most of it is coaching. And I think it's the analysis of who they find, right? Like, why aren't you finding offensive linemen like the Patriots had all those years, or offensive linemen that the Broncos had all those years under Mike Shanahan, or offensive linemen that worked under Bob McKittrick, right? Like not those guys, obviously, but all of a sudden they've gone away from that style of offensive lineman, and it's kind of like, well, why? Like
because the quarterbacks got mobile, and the O-lines didn't have to hold the line for a pocket passer. So
right.
The whole dynamic of the quarterback changed. So your O-line dynamic could change.
It's almost like they haven't changed the way they're looking for the O-lineman. They haven't, you know what I mean? Especially if you're a pass heavy team, like if you're a Buffalo and it's 65-35, right? Basically passing to running, or 60-40 if you're counting your quarterback runs. Like you're blocking a little differently because you're blocking not to hold anybody, and you're blocking not to go down the field and get called for an illegal procedure. Like pass blocking and run blocking are two completely different things. And like, it's almost like you need more nimble guys to do other things, and they're not going for the nimble guys now. There's only so many Trent Williams out there. Yeah. There's probably more. There's more Randy Crosses and Jesse Sapolos than there are Trent Williamses, and like you need to go out and find those other guys. Like if you can find a Trent Williams for your line, a Willie Rowe for your line, a Jackie Slater for your line, an Anthony Munoz for your line, those anchor offensive linemen, and then build around them. That's perfect, and that's exactly what the 49ers have done. You're not going to have a You're not going to have a hog scenario like you used to have with the old Washington teams with Jacoby and Bostic and all those guys, right? So if you can do that, great. But it seems like a lot of the teams around the league don't do that. They draft guys like Mekhi Becton, and then they can't believe it that he can't stay healthy. And then the other guys on the line aren't going to, you know what I mean? Like they're not built up like that. Like the teams that seem to need offensive linemen every year need offensive linemen every year. Like the Jets, the Chargers seem to need an offensive lineman every year, right? Like I'd say Minnesota needs one. The Giants have needed an offensive lineman since like I think they've even needed an offensive lineman since Eli Manning's second Super Bowl.
I was going to say their whole life.
For a while.
It just seems like they have just constantly, and they have gone out in free agency and bought guys. And none of them have been right. Like the Nate Solder deal, like I knew that was going to be bad from the beginning. Like some teams just cannot find offensive linemen, but I don't think it's so much that there's not guys out there. There's guys at the college level that can do it. Like there's a ton of offensive linemen out there to pick from. I just don't think some of the right guys are being picked. And when they are being picked, they're not being coached right. Like a guy like Alex Leatherwood, you know what I mean? Like he should have been taken in the third round. He gets taken in the first. And then they run him out of town because he makes too much money because he got drafted in the wrong spot. Like maybe if he'd been sent to develop and then they're like, hey, let's have him as a guard. Like there's just no, everybody's trying to Trent Williams.
The very first thing you said, we say it all the time, coaching matters. And I do believe that coaching is a big piece of success for any player in any position, anywhere. So, you know, and the style of the quarterback play also matters, whether or not you get drafted for one scheme or another. So I think, you know, it's tough to get drafted in a position where you're not going to be successful, or, you know, you played one style versus another, you know, but coaching to me is one of the most critical parts that I think sometimes gets overlooked. People blame it on the player and the play, but coaching's a big part of it.
Yeah, I agree. Before we head on to the Arizona game, my game balls: Ronnie Bell, CMC, Debo, Brock, and the defense.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I gave one to Moody. Moody's been perfect for the year for special teams. So Moody's perfect so far.
Okay.
Shout out, Brian.
And the power rankings heading into week 4. Not a surprise.
Yeah.
No,
Niners
everything's
1,
kind
Dolphins 2.
Everything's kind of washing out the way it's supposed to be. Like it's actually it's impressive to me that they kept the 49ers at 1 even after the Dolphins dropped 70. Because I was expecting it. You know what I mean? I was just expecting it from everybody loves the Dolphins media wise, it seems like. Anytime the Dolphins, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Steelers, any of those original teams, the Bears, anytime any of those original NFL teams do well, like any chance they get to make them look good, like they're on it, man. Like they are just like, woo. So I was surprised that they kept the 49ers at 1 because like they look good on Thursday night, but it was Thursday night, you know, Sunday, and recency bias usually wins out. So glad to see that wasn't the case.
Ryan Culp. David loves his special teams.
The kicker love is real.
Culp, same. Special teams love from the Culps is real, I should say. Let's see. Go ahead, Maddie. You could take this one.
What am I taking?
Is Penny Sewell that much? Randy Daytona asks, is Penny Sewell that much better than the guy taken 2 rounds later?
I think that's what Matt kind of said before. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think so. I don't think Penny Sewell is Anthony Munoz or Trent Williams. You know what I mean? Like, I think they expect sometimes that some of these offensive linemen, just because they're taken in the first round, are going to be that guy. Like they're going to be the Trent Williams, but Trent Williams has that extra level that a lot of guys just don't. They don't have that. He has it, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the guy has to be drafted in the first round for that to happen. You might find somebody else. I thought Tristan Wirfs from Tampa Bay was a guy. I couldn't believe he got taken so late. Quinn Meinerz from the dude that got drafted by the Broncos. I thought he would have been pretty good. Didn't take him, but that's all right. No problem. So you can find offensive linemen, but you got to have the right guy in there. And if you look at our defensive linemen, look at what Chris Kachurik does for these guys, right? Like, look at what he was doing with the talent that he had opposed to this year, right? Like, he gets those guys to play hard. He gets these guys contracts that they would not have gotten otherwise, right? Like, he made a lot of money for Arden Key and Charles Amenahu and who was it? Kerry Hyder, right? Like that. Those are the first three that I could. Samson Ebukam. Those are four guys that made big money because of their work under Chris Kachurik. When they went to, some of them went to other places and could not get anything done, right? And then they went out and got some pretty good money, like probably money that might help them for the rest of their lives. So if you have that offensive line coach that had that Bob McKittrick, that Dante Scarnecchia, that Joe Bugle, like in terms of those great offensive line coaches, I think that's what you're missing right now. You don't have as many of those guys anymore, like coaching it up. Like that's just not what it. It almost used to be that like you knew the name of the offensive line coach for the good teams because you'd hear about it, because you'd always hear how good their offensive lines were. And I feel like I don't hear about the offensive line coaches as much anymore. Maybe that's by design, but I don't think there's as many good ones for whatever reason.
Maybe not, but I really don't want people to know about him. Stop poaching already.
Right.
Like,
stop talking about him.
Yeah, ixnay on the octave about Gutierrez. We don't want his name being thrown around.
All right, moving on to the Arizona game. Arizona's coming off a big win against the Cowgirls. Any concerns that you think that we face going into this game? I mean, obviously, I don't think they'll be overlooked. They're still an NFL team. They have nothing to lose. So
I just want to throw one thing out there before someone answers the question is I think we owe Angela an apology for trashing her Arizona Cardinals as hard as we did.
We do. I'm sorry.
We do. We want to thank her for the win against the Cowboys. That was pretty special. That was pretty sweet. I was thinking of her the whole game. I was like, "Where's Angela when we need her?" So that was for Angela. Yeah, we're going to dive on the sword. That was pretty sweet watching that game. But no, I think you're absolutely right. They're an NFL team. They're in our division. We play them all the time. I do not sleep on anyone in the division ever. It'll be the one loss we have that we go, how did we lose to 0-3 Cardinals? But it's because you get complacent or you think you're better than them. And look, they just beat the Dallas Cowboys. So we better plan for them.
Yeah, Maddie.
They can run the ball, and they don't give a rat's ass who is playing on your defense. Like, Dallas is not some easy team to run against, and James Conner ran through them like
he did.
Whatever. And I'll give you an example. For folks that play any sort of daily fantasy sports or even just fantasy football as a whole, almost every fantasy football daily fantasy expert last week was saying, don't play James Conner against the Cowboys. He's not going to gain anything. He's going to do nothing. In the major contest for DraftKings, he was owned at less than 1%, 0.6%. He still had his typical like 15, 16, 17 point day.
And like 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, like there was no
on the Dallas Cowboys. It was crazy.
They don't, and there's no. He's the bell cow for them. Like Keontae Ingram
ran right at Micah Parsons each time.
Yeah. They ran right at Micah Parsons. Didn't have any problems with that whatsoever. But he's the defensive player of the year. Blah 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 blah. So, but they did lose Diggs last week, right? They lost their number one corner in practice, which is that's the sort of garbage that usually happens to us. So I feel for them. I really do. And I would much rather prefer to beat them when they're at full strength, because their fan base will be the first one to drop injuries as an excuse. Even though if you were to drop injuries as an excuse to them on the other side of it, they would tell you to get over it and stop crying. So, that's how it goes. My concern of the Cardinals is they really have absolutely nothing to lose. They have an absolute I don't give an F attitude, right? Like it's almost like Shane Falco's leading the replacements out on the field. Josh Dobbs kind of reminds me of that. He's got a Shane Falco vibe. Like he just does not give a single shit. Like whatever. Like I get hit, but he's athletic. He can run. He can throw. He carved up the Cowboys defense last week. Like he's going to be a pain in the ass on third down. He's going to be a pain in the ass on fourth down. You got to stay disciplined, make sure that he doesn't break free and bust out for some first downs. And now you got to watch out for a guy like Rondale Moore, who you're using kind of like Deebo Samuel a little bit. They used him pretty well for that last week. So they're a pain. They're a division rival. They're a pain in the ass. Even though they're trying to tank, they're not tanking.
Yeah.
They're aggressively tanking. Like they're going to be close in every single game. And at the end of the year, we're going to be like, man, they were 1-16, but I swear to God, they were like in every single game. Right. Like, and we'll remember the fact they beat Dallas.
Team.
Yeah. Like they're just going to be a pain all year long with a lot of teams. They're just as long as they stay somewhat healthy, they're going to be annoying.
And to the broke clock analogy, the only thing we don't want is them to be right twice a year when they play us. They can be right twice a year when they play somebody else. The broke clock can be right somewhere else, not in our house. Or not on our day. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Ty has a really good point in his comment as well, because Gannon, of course, is the defensive coordinator for the Eagles last year. So this helps, even though the Cardinals clearly do not have the talent that the Eagles have on defense. He's going to face a similar scheme and similar stuff. So it's almost going to be, in a way, like a preseason game and getting him ready mentally for things that he'll probably see against the Eagles later on in the year. So, because that's going to be a rather big game for the 49ers when that happens. But we'll talk about that game when it happens.
Yeah, Kyle did say that the Cardinals D with, the now head coach, definitely hard to prepare for.
Yeah. He did not seem to take them lightly, did not dismiss them at all, and neither did Nick Bosa or any of those guys in the presser when they were asked about preparing for the Cardinals. They talked about how aggressive Connor is as running back and how he likes to hit it on the edge a lot more than it may seem or look like on to the average person. He's like, we'll be really watching for that and ready for it. So hopefully they're preparing accordingly and not thinking they're going to coast through the game.
The core of this team was there in 2021 when they lost the home game versus Colt McCoy. Right? Remember Kyler Murray missed a game and the Cardinals came in and it was awful. Like I think the 49ers scored like 10 points, 13 points or something. Like it was just an awful game. Like they got pantsed by the Cardinals with Colt McCoy at quarterback. Like, so.
But it's always that way, Matt, right? Like it's always this game, like even back in the day when the Saints were in our division and they were the Aints, and whatever.
Here comes Dave Wilson.
The greatest season ever going. And who did we lose to? New Orleans. And your mind is blown, but they're in your division. You play them twice a year and they somehow just have your number. Seattle used to, they always play us hard and always seem to have a find a way, right? So I don't dismiss any teams in our division when we play them.
Undefeated, and you take on a 3-6 Rams team and lose, right?
Right.
I remember that big showdown against the Giants, and then that Sunday before, the Giants and 49ers both lost. The Giants lost to the Eagles, and the 49ers lost to the Rams. Yep. So, like, it just happens, and that's just exactly how it sets up. It sets up like that every single time.
So yeah, we definitely can't sleep on them.
No, we and we certainly shouldn't. That's for sure.
No, it was Dave
Melissa
Brown
says-
that was with the Giants. Dave Wilson was an old. There was Wade Wilson. There was also a Dave Wilson, I believe, that played for the Saints back in the day. And Dave Wilson, I want to say, played around the same time that. There's also like a Richard Todd, Ken Stabler thing with the Saints too for a season. Like they've had some weird ass quarterback things going on there. Bobby Hebert, Steve Walsh. Yeah. All sorts of John Forcade. Like they've had some wild ones.
Sin says we must stop James Conner.
Easier said than done. I can't believe the Steelers gave up on him because it's not like they replaced him with anything better. Like James Conner to me is kind of like the reverse Jerome Bettis in a way. Like he probably should have stayed in Pittsburgh his whole career. I don't understand why he didn't, quite frankly. That's one of the few cases like a running back is released and just very Frank Gore like just continues on. Okay, well I'll gain 1,000 yards somewhere else. Who gives a shit, right? Thanks for playing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, I'll go to Buffalo now and get 1,000 yards there, and I'll go to Indy and get 1,000 yards there, and I'll
just
go to the
stretch
Jets.
and do my yoga and whatever. And
yeah, just do my thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your X factor on offense
For this coming week.
Yes.
Gosh, I think that's probably going to be Brandon Ayuk being back. He looked like he was taking balls and probably coming back. So I think Purdy will be happy to have his boy back.
Maddie, what do you think?
Sorry to take this away from you, but I think it'll be George Kittle because George Kittle's always the X factor against the Arizona Cardinals.
I never take Kittle because I know that's always Jesse.
That's why I was kind of hoping she'd go first so that she could take him.
Could take it.
But she didn't, so I'm like, nope, that's mine then. It's like a best ball draft. I'll take him.
Yeah, he's the best available. Here we go.
Right. He's the best player available at this point. But they don't have anybody that can cover him. Not safety wise, not linebacker wise. And yeah,
that's true. And Melissa said, I love that Wilkes has them shutting down on coverage or not being killed in run game like before.
Yeah.
Ty says Kittle's the Cardinals killer.
He is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Even that 2020 game that eliminated him from the playoffs, the difference in that game was George Kittle. Like CJ Beathard. I hope CJ Beathard sends George Kittle like a fantastic Christmas card and a nice array of sausages and cheeses every year for the contract that he got from the Jacksonville Jaguars to be their backup quarterback because of what George Kittle did for him down the stretch in 2020. Like
CJ Beathard doesn't need it. His daddy's a rich Nashville.
I know, but still, these guys want to make it on their own and do their thing, right? Like. You
know what they say.
Regardless of whether you're a nepo baby or not, like you want to feel like you did it on your own. You know what I mean? And like in this case, he didn't really do it on his own, but he did it with George Kittle, so be it, right? Because they still ended up being boys. So, but like that, because that game was it. That was the one where you're like, you know what? If I got to start CJ Beathard in a game, I don't feel horrible about it, right?
Yeah, better start him with Guitar Hero. They have the whole family plays music. They have a band. Crazy.
Oh, Melissa, I think you're going to see
Melissa. I think for Maddie, your thoughts on D-line begging to have 5 on the line for certain defensive downs.
I think you're going to see a lot of that throughout the season. This defense has a lot of. This is going to be a way back for a lot of folks, and even go back to college a little bit. Back in 1993, Alabama was finally good again after a long time of them not being good. And they made it to the national title game and they played Miami. And during that game against Miami, they would actually put 11 people on the line and then they drop some of them off, or sometimes they bring all 11 at the quarterback. The quarterback at the time was Gino Torretta, who won the Heisman that year for some reason. And he was terrible in that football game and Alabama blew him out of the water. But and it's very similar, and it's an offshoot almost to the 85 Bears who used to play the 46 defense, because sometimes they'd have 6 to 8 guys on the line. You know what I mean? So I think you're going to continue to see, you're going to have a 5th guy on the line. I think there may be situations where you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys on the line, depending on who the quarterback is. If it's not an experienced quarterback, they are going to start doing all the things. You see it all the time, like where they go almost like 7. It feels like they bring in 47 defensive backs on one play, and there's 2 defensive linemen. Like, I almost feel like at some point they're going to bring in like that many defensive linemen for different things, and really line a bunch of people up on the line. Like, this defense is not done evolving. Like, it is not completely unlocked yet. That's what's scary about it. It's just getting better every single week. Even Javon Kinlaw is functional right now, guys. I can't stress that enough. Functional. Thriving, probably going to get he's probably going to get a good contract with somebody next year.
Yeah. Eric Armstead was giving him flowers, saying that he could play on any starting D line in the league.
Oh yeah,
So
you'll see him in
Houston
Houston
getting a good contract.
Houston, Miami, Jets. You know. Any of the 49ers
junior
minor league
teams, right?
Yeah, I like to call them the 49er minor league teams, right? You know, the development teams, if you will. I don't know if you can call the Dolphins that, but I will, just because.
Who's your X factor on defense?
I want to go with Mooney Ward, because I want to see a nice shutdown game from him, like one of those. Absolutely nothing gets in front of him. Nothing gets behind him. No defensive holding or anything. Like, I want to see him have a true number 1 game, right? Like, I want to see him be that guy. So like, I'd like to see Hollywood Brown with like 1 catch for 3 yards. That's what I'd like to see. I think if you have that, then you're in good shape. But that's the one thing for you to be able to play the sort of defense and unlock all the different levels of this Wilkes defense. You have to get next level defensive back play. We going to get that from the secondary right now? I hope so. This is the type of game where you'd really like to see it, because then I think that could happen. I don't think Ward has been the same since that game against Seattle last year. I still think he hurt himself, or played hurt, whatever it was. I don't think he's been quite. He was playing at a prime-ish level, like mini prime, not like full prime. But like, he was playing at that kind of level that you really want your guy to be at, and then he dropped down a little bit. I'd like to see him get back up to that level.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's the defensive line. I think we have to get after Josh Dobbs, keep him contained, because I think he'll do a little bit of running around. You know, and if we keep him contained, and you know, the secondary will do their job. But yeah, for me, it's the defensive line.
Yeah, I was going back and forth with the same thing, like shutting down the run. We're going to need the D line to really step up and have that kind of game. But I'm in Melissa's camp too. I like I call him D-Lo instead of Demo, but I like Diamano or Lenore, and I think he's really starting to come into his own a little bit, and I'd like to see him have a really great game. And Greenlaw's playing well too. Can't take that away from him. and Jake, the X Factor Moody. Hopefully he's not the X Factor. My goodness, we don't want Jake Moody being the X Factor in any game.
I do want to back up one more thing that I want to mention real quick about Dre Greenlaw. He's starting to cross that line again where like 15-yard fouls are becoming a thing. So let's pull that back just a tad, because that hasn't been a major problem this year for this team, where they're getting that 15-yard personal foul penalty on every play.
Yeah.
I would like that not to return. So if he could stay off that list, because I feel like he's one more hit away from being put in that fairly, probably unfairly, probably very unfairly, that Vontez Perfect sort of deal.
Yeah.
Because he's had some hits, and some people are like, I mean, to me, they're football hits, whatever, like watch football, but some of them have only been watching it for 10 years, and it's a different game now, so I understand it. Dre Greenlaw could have played in 1984. Like, I would like to take a time machine and put Dre Greenlaw on the 84 49ers. Like, he would,
when people got their bell rung.
Yeah.
He would wow. Like I can't even. He'd probably have to have a steel plate in his arm just from all the bashings that he probably would have done to helmets. But like he's an old school player, and sometimes he plays to that line and goes a little bit over that line, and I don't want to see him flown out of the game because like his attitude, his emotion, and the way that he plays is something that defense needs. And I think if he's not on the field, they would be missing something just from his presence, let alone from his physical ability. So take it down just a hair, not too much, just a little bit.
So on offense and defense, what do we have to do to win this game on Sunday?
Don't commit turnovers and then go get some turnovers and then wrap this thing up early. Don't give them any hope or prayer. Yeah, no penalties. Yeah. Don't
stop it with the stupid ticky-tacky penalties and stop giving them yards that convert and get them into scoring position and allow them to have an opportunity to score instead of having to punt. Stop that now. It's week whatever 4 coming up. Cut it out. Get over it already.
No turnovers and disciplined football.
Don't give a team like this any sort of confidence. Don't give
them a window.
If this is a game of Mario, don't give them a mushroom, right? Like they can't leave them tiny so that when you hit them once, they squish and they're gone, right? Like you want to get up on a team like this 21-0 so that they can't use their run game. And then they're one-dimensional with Josh Dobbs. Then it doesn't matter what Josh Dobbs does. Like right. He might throw for 300 yards, but it'll be, 10 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards. Okay.
Right.
And they're going to go for 4th down and not be able to get it, right? Like that's the sort of game that he would probably end up having in that scenario. So what you want to do is just force a bunch of turnovers and not give them no hope. Like you get into the red zone, that's it. Wrap it up. So anytime you get within 25 yards, it's be automatic.
I want a green law high too. I don't want it to be brought.
Well, and I'm trying to that's why I'm trying to rein it in now because I don't want that balloon to be busted this week. Like imagine if Dre Greenlaw gets ejected in the second quarter because he gets
don't even speak that into existence.
You know what I mean? Like it was coming close last week, and it was like one of those. The Giants are one of those teams that, like, as an example, like I feel like if you just give them an inch, they're going to come back from the dead and just.
They always have on us. They always have.
And the Cardinals would be very similar to that. I could see them pulling that out. Like Josh Dobbs, for some reason, right now has a horseshoe firmly in his hindquarters. I don't know how it got there. Maybe he sat on it. Maybe just however this worked. So you do not want him to get any more chances at it because it just takes one bomb to Hollywood Brown where pass interference is called. He's at the 1 and you dump it off to James Conner. You've got a touchdown. All of a sudden they've got their swagger back. Something about a James Conner run to them is just, it's strengthening to them, turns them into Voltron or whatever.
And they're also coming off a really big win against Dallas. You don't need to give them any friggin' room to get on a high. And
nope.
We need to come out and really, we have to, if they take the ball first, shut that down immediately. We have to go and score on them and take all the wind out of their sails pretty quickly. I think that's one of the big keys for us this week is shut them down early and stop everything because we do not need them getting on some I don't know roller coaster high from winning against Dallas and now thinking they can beat us too because they can't.
Yeah, that's not a team that I would like. I don't want when they play each other again in December. Like I want them to be so far out of it at that point that game is just there.
It's
right?
just
You don't if they beat Dallas and San Francisco in back-to-back weeks, they're going to start feeling really good about themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe they decide not to tank. And then look what that could do for Caleb Williams. Like Caleb Williams might have to go to Chicago, guys. Do we really want that to happen to Caleb Williams? I don't want that to happen to Caleb Williams. So I mean, like, we could we could help a young man's career here this weekend is really what I'm saying. So,
stomp a mud hole in there.
Yeah, just take them. They're a division rival. Put them down early. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Take them out back.
Yeah.
Put them down.
You put them down.
Have
we've
a beer.
We've done really well with starting. We've done really well with starting fast.
Yes.
So we just have to. We have to do that.
Isn't it amazing what happens when your quarterback is kind of there for the preseason and like you have some continuity and like he gets to learn the system and carry it forward and like he's not just starting back over, like even look at the way that Jimmy would come back. Like when he came back from his shoulder injury last year, right? He wasn't working with the team. He was working off on his own to the side, like in a pocket universe, like Doctor Strange, working in the mirror dimension on his throws. And then, Trey Lance gets hurt and all of a sudden, boom, here comes Jimmy back from the mirror dimension. I'm back, baby. Let's go. Right. And it took a couple of games for him to get it going. And then he got it going to the point that he got it going to because CMC came and brought the offense to the next level.
Well, that was also a scenario where Jimmy was supposed to be out.
And he was supposed to be out, and it was the whole thing, and
plays and the whole dimension there. So I think that was a detriment too, a little bit when he did have to come in and start to work. He had a learning curve problem.
And wasn't it the year before he couldn't play either during the preseason, or he got a late start because there was a surgery that he was coming back from wasn't supposed to have, and did like another.
Yeah, because he waited because that was the contract negotiation or something.
And there was
right?
a bunch of shenanigans going on. Like
it was free agency, and then we lost all of our like trade value out of him because then he waited to announce that he needed the surgery. So now we couldn't trade Jimmy anywhere. We were kind of stuck with him. So it just kind of,
Bex, who's your favorite Wolverine, Moody or Bell?
Someone I know personally, locally, is Jake Moody's cousin. So I have to go with Jake Moody just because there's people I know that are related to him. So
fair enough.
So I got to go with Moody.
All right. If we don't have anything else, let's go to our 2-minute warning. Hurry up offense and the 2-minute warning. Go ahead, Becca.
Oh, gosh. Let's see. Congrats to CMC for his 5,000-yard career rushing. Brock Purdy's an 8-0 starter. Keep doing the do. Congrats to Kyle and John for the extension. We got them. They're still ours. And Niner fans, be nice, especially if there's 2 Giant fans who are females in the stands. You don't need to turn around and talk nasty to girls. Like, talk to some dude and fight. They were a little intimidated. So be kind, be nice in the stands, but always go Niners. And I'm glad the Giants lost.
Go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah, what's with the fighting in the stands, gang? Like fighting with each other? Like, are you Eagles fans all of a sudden? Like, did I miss a memo of some type? Like, there is no.
It's not our style. Don't do it.
I don't want to see that anymore. Like, leave that to Dolphins fans who are punching people, like, or Eagles fans, or like those sorts of folks. Like, no, don't, no, just no. Levi's isn't that place. Like, we're a place that, we'll accept you as you are as a fan, and when your team loses, we'll laugh at you. That's what we're here to do. Yeah. That's how we do things here.
Congrats to Kyle and John on their extensions. Everyone enjoy the game on Sunday. Let's get this dub. Let's go to 4-0 and go Niners.
Go
bang, bang.
Niners.
Get ready for Sunday Night Football after that.
Woo!
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. Caught it! Dwight Clark!
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like
now
it.
go Niners. Woo!